We are live.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everyone. Tim and I are back, but we are not shifecting today. We're going to be doing something a little bit different. Today, we're going to be talking about working on a little project that Tim's actually been hacking on the side, called Lalph. I believe originally the inspiration for this name was that the agent orchestrator thingy was connecting to linear to get a source of issues. But I think Tim's expanded that over time. But anyways, we're going to be talking about Lalph and also working on it a little bit today. So maybe I'll hand it over to Tim and he can give us kind of a walkthrough of what Lalph is, what the goal is, and how it can be used. Since I think it is open source now, right? You made it public.
Yeah. Alright. Maybe we start by looking at the repo. So Laph is just me exploring kind of like AI agent loops, but mainly for my personal workflow. So it is inspired by Lalph, but I wouldn't say it stays completely true to the Lalph philosophy or the Lalph method. But it's similar. But the idea is, so when you have the Lalph loop, you have like your specs and your implementation plan, and then you just have a single prompt that gets run over and over again. And like the state for the kind of AI agent is in the implementation plan, usually. But generally for like the kind of work I do, I'm working on like lots of smaller tasks and not really big projects. So I kind of want a best of both worlds where I can have like big Lalph loops where it works on a big feature, but also have a loop where it can work on smaller tasks as well, and find a balance and find a workflow that is easy to use every day. So this is kind of like the exploration of that. And the idea is the implementation plan part of the context lives in an external tool. And I find that easier to work with day to day because I can look at the list of issues and tweak them and move them around and assign them to projects. And initially I focused on linear, but it also supports GitHub issues. And then I wanted a plan mode, so I can if I wanted to work on a bigger project, it could generate the spec file and create an implementation plan. And then behind the scenes, it's using Git Worktrees and injecting the implementation plan into the worktree. And that's so you can have it working on multiple tasks at a time if you can parallelize them without it stepping on each other's toes. And I can also continue to work in the repo doing some of the tasks that need a bit more focus from me. And then kind of thinking about workflows, I wanted to be able to have human in the loop when the tasks are a bit more complex, or if I'm working on effect, which is library level code. Usually I find agents don't get it quite right on the first try and might need a few tweaks to get something over the line. So I've been leveraging pull requests for the human in the loop point. So when it's finished a granular task, it'll open a pull request and then I can review it, add comments, and then send it back to the agent or finish it off myself.
You can Does it get access to like the stuff that you put into the PR, like all the comments and whatnot?
In the prompt, it just says like, if there's an existing PR, like review the comments. It's going to turn my volume down a bit. It like reviews the comments and addresses those as part of the loop.
Cool.
But if I want to go full vibe, then I kind of like turn on auto merge and let it like merge the PRs as it completes them into like a base branch. So I might have like a parent pull request, and it's just merging the sub pull requests into the parent one.
That's cool.
One feature that I found like quite game changing is issue dependencies. So like when it's creating the implementation plan, it can like set up task dependencies to say like this needs to happen before that can happen. And it's a great way to make sure like you can do tasks in parallel, but ensure that it's not trying to do something before another thing is done. So you can have like a concurrency of 3, but if there's no tasks if there's tasks that can't be done because another task hasn't been done yet, it won't start working on that, which I found quite useful.
Cool.
And then this is more of the technical details. There's a few commands there. But maybe we can just quickly show a quick demonstration. So maybe in here, I run the CLI help.
And this is using Effect 4, right? This project?
Yeah, I've been using Effect 4 for this.
Dylan, thank you very much for joining, and thank you very much for the sub. Dylan's in my Twitch chat right now.
Hello, Dylan. So you can limit the iterations. I found I've hardly ever used that and just let it go hard. Defaults to a single task at a time, which is quite good if it's like working on quite a complex task and it needs to like, because obviously every time it works on something, it's like building up context. So generally,
Dylan's first question for you, Tim, is JJ support when?
JJ support. Yeah, it's just using Git right now. But I haven't actually used JJ. It's probably something I need to put on my list.
Same.
Yeah. But you can set concurrency higher if you want it to like work on multiple tasks at a time. Auto merge, I'm thinking about removing this for another option, but we'll talk about that later. Target branch, so you can, by default, it will just like go into your, it will just create PRs that merge into your base branch, but you can target like a feature branch and like have it merge work into like a feature branch.
So this would be a situation where like you have like a dev feature or feature branch, and like you have other tasks you want to like pull off of that branch and like merge back in, but you don't want to go into your like main or whatever. You could do that if you want to.
Yeah, so if I'm working on a big project that has like multiple tasks with auto merge turned on, I want all of those kind of like small PRs that go into the big PR pull request. So the target branch is for setting the big pull request. So yeah, the pull request is like the human in the loop point. Just because I want to use GitHub's UI for like reviewing code, so I just leverage the functionality of GitHub for the human in the loop part. And then there's like a max minute setting. So if it's taking too long on a task, then it times out, and then there's like a prompt to tell it to break the task down further because it's taking too long. I find it's quite useful because sometimes AI tends to like go around in circles because it's just got too much in its context and it's spinning its tires and going nowhere.
How does it determine that there's been like no activity? Like,
I'm looking at max minutes, so this is regardless of activity or not.
I got it. Okay.
Yeah. So if it's spend an hour and a half on a task, potentially an hour might be better, then generally the task is probably too big and it needs breaking up further. So it will time out and then break up the task and then loop back around. And then store minutes kind of like monitors standard out. And if there's been nothing for a certain amount of time, then it just times out and tries again.
And
because there's often times where AI just like gets stuck on something or like is trying to run a command, but that blocked the process. But sometimes it runs a dev server and forgets to run it in the background. This will detect that and try again.
Got it. So this is like if there's no output from the agent for X minutes or whatever, like that's when it would like cut this off. Yeah. Got it. Okay.
And then there's just a couple of helpful workflow things. Like if I when I start play mode, you can like reset the source to choose like a different project and that kind of thing. And then commands, we got play mode. You can like quickly create an issue from the CLI, or you can edit the implementation plan and then change like the issue source and what CLI agent to use.
Cool.
So maybe in action, we can create an issue in this repository. The README needs more emojis.
I feel like we need a Sergeant Oaks meme in there after all these emojis get added.
Yeah. So I'm just going to open a sandbox. So I typically run agents in like a Docker sandbox, so that doesn't have access to anything else.
You're no fun.
And then, so like if we go Lalph edit, you can see it's like downloaded the implementation plan. It's like a bunch of done tasks in here. And it can use those for like use the done tasks for context. I might just tell it to use a label. If I add a Lalph label to that one, reset. So let's run it, reset the source, and tell it to just look at the Lalph label, because otherwise it will try the other things. So now it's in the loop. It will download, I'll set up the work tree, and by default, well, actually it's not configurable right now, but it will use a work tree setup script to set everything up, because when you open a work tree, it's like a blank slate. So you need to like enable certain things for your project. So here I'm enabling callback and storing dependencies and cloning the fetch repository that it can use for like reference. Tree list. So here you can see it's work tree. So we jump into this inbox and go here. So a couple of things are injected. So apart from running the setup script, so if we look in repos, you can see effect there. And in agents, I've just got a section about learning more about the effect library that points to that repository. It also injects the implementation plan. And this is like a live document. So if it edits this, it also updates linear. So here we can see it's now in progress, and it's adding some notes to the description that it can use for like future reference.
Mm-hmm.
So if for some reason this task times out or bails, it's added a few notes that will kind of like help it complete the task faster next time.
That's cool.
I'll put it under that. So it's running the loop. It's going through like I've kind of been like iterating on the prompt to get it to do the right things at the right time. But the idea is that the prompt is quite lean, and it's leaning on like your agents.md and your specifications to get most of its context in like the actual task itself. And then when it's done, remember, I'm using medium thinking. I'm trying out Codex at the moment, and it's
Do you enjoy it?
It's definitely slower than Opus, but I think it's better for like library stuff because it thinks more and is more like cautious. So generally for like effect stuff, I turn the thinking to the max and let it do lots of research before doing anything. So it's finished, and it's kind of like marked it as review. And at this point, I can open the pull request, look at the diff, and decide what next steps to take.
Thank God for those emojis.
Yeah, but not today.
Not today.
Cool. And now, because I set the iterations to unlimited, it's just like polling for more work. So quite often I'll just have this running while I'm out doing stuff, and I might think of ideas for something while I'm out and about and just like note it down into linear on my phone and just like let it pick it up.
It's pretty cool.
And then just review the PRs on the GitHub app.
What does planning mode look like with Lalph? Like we did that. Did we do that before, or was that edit mode?
Lalph plan. So when you go into plan mode, it sets up the work tree and it injects the implementation plan, and then kind of like starts off your agent with like a base prompt that just tells it how to add tasks, like where to put specifications and all that kind of stuff. But from then on out, it's just like a normal session. So you can save. So one of the things I wanted to work on was here's one. So I want to add a command to enter the work with the PID file in my default shell. And then it will do the research, create the spec file, and might ask you a few questions, and then you can just iterate on the spec and the implementation plan here. And then it'll, like, the implementation plan will like populate linear, so you would review that here. But then you can also you also look at the spec file and ask questions and iterate.
And will it break issues down into like smaller tasks if it thinks that the issue is too big, or is that something that like you would do as like the human in the loop?
I've been trying to steer it to do that. Lalph shell is a good command. So in the prompt, it's like try create tasks that like are atomic and committable and aren't big. Worktree lifecycle. The Worktree and PRD services already. I like the nice thing with using effect is, and all the scope stuff is like all the cleanup stuff just happens for you.
Yeah.
So like right now I have the work tree. If I control C this, like the work tree is all cleaned up and the stuff moved. If it was working on a task, it will move it back to the to-do state.
It's cool.
And that kind of thing. So I think maybe I'll pull off one of these. I think I'll work on some of these myself because I already have ideas of how I want to do it.
Hands on the keyboard, Tim. What is this? 2025?
Yeah. So right now, auto merge is just like a CLI flag. Oops. But I find that quite restrictive because I might want to leave Lalph open and some issues I want auto merge and some I don't, rather than a blanket auto merge everything. So I want to move it to like a linear label, so you could have like auto merge enabled, and then that is reflected in like the implementation plan file.
Got it.
So right now, auto merge is here, and I want to remove it. And if I go to like the runner, let's delete it here. So
by the way, how are you finding the new child process like APIs that I put together? I wasn't sure like how they felt. I know you added some stuff.
Yeah, I added some stuff like. Otherwise, it's a bit laborious to like create the handle and then do something with the handle. Sometimes you just want to quickly execute something.
Right.
So I've got a few helpers here. I'm not sure I need extend environment here because I'm not writing the environment. A couple of helpers here for running things in the work tree. And this is the one that runs something with a stall timeout. So like every time something comes in to standard out, we forward it to process standard out, and then also reset the timer.
Cool.
The auto merge is down here. So task.
So you want this to now, instead of being like a flag, you want to be able to go into an issue and like pop that label on there, like either in GitHub or in Linear, and have that effect.
This is the model. So we add a field here. My keyboard just ran out of battery up.
That's what happens when you try to use your keyboard in 2026. Your keyboard rejects it. Rejected.
Auto merge. So we add that field. Cool. Then in here it will probably there'll be some type errors somewhere. Yeah. We can just default it to false. So in here, so I'm currently doing two agent calls per iteration, loop iteration. So that the choosing of the task is done separately to the execution of the task, and that is to like keep the context window as focused as possible for the task execution. Otherwise, I find it just performs a bit better if you keep the actual task execution as focused as possible to keep the context leaner.
Do you reset the agent at any point in time, like the actual, like how does the iteration work? Is it timer based? Is it based on something else? Is it based on the available context remaining? Because I know, like with a regular Lalph loop, eventually you'll enter another iteration, you'll get a fresh context, etc., etc.
Yeah, so every iteration is a fresh context.
But how do you, like, where does Lalph draw the line for a new iteration?
Just when it exits. So once the agent exits, because we have all of the state saved.
Is there like an exit signal that the agent looks for, like in the chat, like it says, "Oh, I'm done," or does it do you allow it to like auto close itself somehow?
Yeah, so open code, when the agent finishes, it just exits. And then we can inspect like the state of the issues to determine what the outcome was. So if it created a GitHub pull request, then we can determine that it's got some work for us to review now. So then auto merge will then take over potentially, or maybe revert issue. What's that? If the issue never made it to the in review state, then we'll put it back to the to-do state and then start the loop again. So here,
we got Mike in the chat.
What's
up, Mike? What is up, Mike?
We just need a way to find an issue by ID. We can do that again. Find ID. I can just use the current issue or no. This generated function does not have a yield. Thanks, Mattia.
I think Mattia's in chat too. Thanks, Mattia.
There's no code action for that then.
Dylan, I agree. It is definitely too late for Mike to be awake in Italy right now. Wait, Mattia's awake too. You guys should all go to bed.
And then if I export that. Cool. And then here we can go tasks equals. And then if the task doesn't exist, then just return anyway. So now we have access to the task itself. And here we can just go if task image. So at this point we've moved auto merge to the.
Mike says that looking at people write code by hand is the new fetish.
Yeah, watching AI write code is even more boring.
It's a tactile thing, you know.
Yeah.
Some people just enjoy
can feel the keys of my fingers.
King of the keys and the keymeister.
So we've hooked this thing up. Let's check if there's any type errors. We now need to fix GitHub.
We do need to fix GitHub.
GitHub needs fixing in a lot of ways, but that's not what I mean.
We do need to fix GitHub.
So we just populate all that merge with twice now. And that is then create issue. Maybe here we can add it as well.
Dylan, I am so happy that somebody got that reference. Nobody ever gets that one. Captain tying knots on the tree meister. Mattia wants to know if Lalph leaves notes in the issue for the next iteration.
It does, yeah. It does.
You said that it populates like notes as it's working in the issue, right? And it will, this way they are present.
Yeah, so it kind of like updates. I kind of think of Lalph as an implementation plan manager. It doesn't really do much more. But like it's free to update the plan as it sees fit. So we've got this new field. We need a way to hook it up to a label in Linear.
In case anybody watching this in the future is wondering what the hell Dylan and I are talking about, there's a YouTube video that was popular when we were kids that just was very quotable. Made absolutely no sense, but was very quotable. Hence, some of us just committed it to memory forever. And that is what we are quoting currently. Am I Gen Z? I don't think I am, Mike. Am I? I'm older than you are, Mike. I don't even know what order the generation letters go in. Is that what it was, Dylan? Some guys recorded their friend on an acid trip who was sitting in a closet. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Like, based on the content of the video, that does make a lot of sense. Yeah, Dylan and I are boomers. That's right.
I feel like there's a lot of room for refactoring this, but I don't care right now. Labit ID.
Labid ID. See, AI would have never made that mistake, Tim. What kind of AI are you? Or maybe this is the machine language that we've been hearing about, that AI is supposed to be better at writing than we are.
Yeah, maybe. We add that to reset. And then pull it out. Yeah. Alright, so now we have a label ID. So here we need to check if it has the label. Yep.
What is this particular method doing?
This is like the stream that pulls down the issue list. Option.hat.
We have another question in the chat from somebody not quoting an acid trip video. Gidam wants to know, it's kind of a random question, but would you mind explaining why you are using an RC map to hold the connections?
The connections in linear. This guy.
I assume that is what Gidam is referencing. Yes.
So there's a token manager that manages the access token, which will expire, and then you have to refresh it. And then the token will change. And the linear client has like access token is like a static field. You can't like dynamically update it. So Git client gets the latest token and then retrieves the client corresponding to that token. And then when the token changes, it like rotates to another client. So I probably don't need an RC map here, but it just handles any cleanup that would potentially be necessary. So if the token rotates, the old client gets discarded.
Makes sense. So I guess in this particular case,
any like state that needs closing here, but in here you could have like effect.acquire release and then have a finalizer. And when the client rotates, it like cleans up the old one properly.
So I guess the idea here when you were originally writing this was probably like you set up the RC map thinking the linear client might have like some sort of finalization that's required. And then it probably just was never removed. Because, I mean, in theory, for those like watching who are curious, like you could probably manage the client with like a simple, I don't know, ref or something else in this case, right? Because
yeah,
you're
the
only
problem
ever gonna
is like you could rotate the client, but it could just be like simple variable like current client. I guess you would have to seed it with the current token. What's that complaining about? And then in get client, you would check if the token's changed and then rotate this variable.
Yeah.
But same thing.
Same thing.
I was in spreadsheet. Wasn't linear. It's an auto merge label ID. So if there is an auto merge label ID, we check if the issue has it. Otherwise, return false. Right. Maybe we'll update GitHub over here.
Is it also worth maybe when you're done implementing this particular feature, we could look at some of the additional helper methods that you added to child process and see how they interact with the module?
Yeah. Merge label. Oh yeah, we could just set auto merge label. I think if I have to add like another select, then I'll refactor this to an abstraction. But auto merge label select, yeah. And then
And this settings thing just manages like, are the settings like persisted somewhere, or they're like just?
the setting is a model that has like a name and schema, which uses like the settings service to persist them to a key value store.
Got it.
So up here, yep. Cool. Let's see if it works. So if we go let's quickly add. If we go reset the source, it's linear, and then edit, select the Lalph project. Auto merge. Green. Auto merge false. Great. auto merge. False. Didn't work. Oh no. Lalph. There we go. It's supposed to update, but it takes like a minute, so I'll just edit again. What a merge true.
Didn't you kill the long running process?
I mean, in the service that manages the requirements document, where is it? So it sets up our file watcher, so when the AI makes changes, it syncs. But there's also like a refresh every minute. So like if I make changes to the document, that will go back to the implementation plan file in the agent session.
Got it. And all of this runs when you like run edit or something like that? Because I saw that like Lalph was like shut down.
Yeah.
But I'm assuming all of this runs like when you run a command.
So there's a couple layers here. There's the layer without the work tree. And then there's a layer here with the work tree provided. So the work tree layer is the thing that sets up a Git work tree. And then when the layer is shut down, it cleans it up.
Got it.
So this is the layer that agent sessions use. There's also a layer local here. And layer local just sets up like a fake work tree for the current directory. This is the one the edit uses. So it doesn't have to like set up a work tree before jumping into your editor.
Makes sense.
And these layers are like provided.
Mike says that in the spec that we opened before, the thing that the PRD, I think, that there's two auto merges. One that is true, the one that was false.
Oh yeah. So this issue was completed.
2 issues,
yeah.
So I get it. So this thing, the PRD is generated from the issues that match that label.
Yeah.
Got it.
Now this is kind of like a live document, so if I jump in here and then mark this as like blocked by Tim 117. Yeah, it's created the dependency.
Nice.
But for some reason, it doesn't work because the other one is completed already. Cool. This is useful if you want to like make changes to the plan. But I think that is working now. Move auto merge to true. So that means now if like if I have like entire project, I just want it to vibe code, I could just go label auto merge.
Cool.
I've been finding like Linear is quite a nice way to manage the tasks.
Is GitHub issues like similar, or is it still annoying?
It's just like not as quick because Linear is just a nice app, and like it just everything like task dependencies and projects, quickly creating projects is quite nice. I've been using like projects as like a namespace, so I'm like, if I have a big task I want something to work on, I can just create a project for that task, and then you can treat the project as the implementation plan.
Nice. Very cool.
So for some of the effect things, I like created a project for like cleaning up the filter APIs or porting the event log modules, and then it just worked through all of these tasks.
Nice. What are you currently like? What tasks are there in there that we could have it churn through, like now to test it out?
Because
maybe we
could try one of these.
I was gonna say maybe we could try one of the auto, like something with auto merge, and have it set up like a base branch or something.
Maybe something for shift effects.
Either that or for effect, I don't really care.
What's something that needs to happen for effects more right now? Got any ideas?
Is there any HTTP API stuff that needs to happen?
I think I've ported everything now.
You know what needs to happen, which is a much larger task, but it would be interesting to see. It would be interesting to see like how to use Lalph to do that.
Yeah,
I actually don't know if this support already exists, but it would be interesting to see how we could break this into Lalph, adding streaming support to the HTTP APIs.
Oh yeah.
So like, so you create this is like a project, right? So this is like the namespace that Lalph will now operate within.
Yeah, so you kind of like sandbox that to a project, and then that way, like the implementation plan only puts things related to the task in the context.
So would this be a situation where, like, since you don't have a clear idea of how implementation looks, where you might like open up a plan session with the agent?
Yeah, so I've got my project now. If I go to small, and then open up a session.
And to be clear for those who are watching, I'm not expecting to solve this feature during this stream, but it would have more just to like understand the workflow for Lalph and like what it looks like.
It would be nice to have this
feature. It would be nice. It would be nice to have streaming support, but again, not expecting to solve it in like, you know.
So I'd create the project, start Lalph plan with the reset flag. So
what does reset do? Remind me, it resets the PRD that's currently in the project.
So it resets the linear settings, so I can select a different project.
I get it. Okay.
It'd be nice if the prompt did search. Maybe we can do that.
How do you mean?
I can start typing and it filters the list.
Oh yeah. That would be nice, actually.
But
switching gears, everyone.
So now it's creating the work tree and adding like in the setup script for small, I've got it to clone like effect version 3 So it can like reference the old version of effect for like porting stuff.
Makes sense.
What thinking mode do I want for this? Maybe we'll try medium just to speed it up. The prompt dot filter dot select. What's the best way to read this? Should, when using prompt dot select, the user should be able to filter this.
I wonder if this would be a totally different prompt, like an autocomplete prompt or something.
Oh yeah, maybe.
We'll see what it comes up with.
So while that's going, there were a couple other things I wanted to work on.
I still want the HTTP API streaming in there. I'm like very curious how that would get broken down by Lalph.
Should be quite a small change.
Yeah, I'm just looking at other libraries, and other libraries that do this call it autocomplete.
It contains ignore case.
Like it's a separate prompt type.
Fuzzy match. I feel like contains ignore case is a good start. Where should the typed filter text appear? New line above the choices.
I'm looking at my inspiration for the prompt library in effect, and it renders to inline after the message for their autocomplete select. Like they have a separate prompts type called prompt.autocomplete. And it renders. Inline. Yeah, you have like the list. And both their multi-select and their select support an autocomplete variant. And it renders inline afterward.
Okay. Okay, so control filter.
I think type in backspace for now.
When filtering hides current selection weapons.
Probably number one is the behavior that makes the most sense.
Should filtering apply to multi-select? Actually, right. Separate.
There is a prompt.auto, like an autocomplete multi-select variant in this library that I sort of like.
Oh yeah. Well, that's going. I can quickly add this feature. It might actually get quite complex actually. I just wanted the ability to enter into a shell to a new work tree with all like the things set up properly.
Yeah.
Should probably use select options.
Maybe extend select options. A lot of the option types extend existing option types. So no matches? I don't know. Maybe you can make it an option, like what shows when it's empty. Mattia, actually, sir, would you mind creating an entirely new API? Thank you.
Let's go. So if I call the command shell, I need these. I guess target branch should be useful. Still go. Alright, so if we add a shell module, yeah, this will be very similar to edit, I think. No. Yes. And we want a PID file set. We don't want a launch editor. We want to launch the current shell.
Probably still
I
want
guess process.env.shell.
well, the config behavior you had was probably fine, but instead of doing editor, you can just load the shell.
Yeah. I bet this is fine.
Kedom says that notifications in open code for when it's done or has questions would be nice. Dylan actually has a plugin for that on his dot files.
Yeah.
The Gears of War reload sound.
It doesn't do any configuration of open code, so it's up to you to just like launch open code and then add your plugins and MCP servers and choose your model.
Got it.
Before running Lalph, and we'll just use that. So shell into shell. And then this should use the work tree layer. So this is the easy part. The next part is I want the other commands to be able to detect if I'm already in the work tree. And then just reuse the current work tree instead. I think we can just detect if the implementation plan file is there. Mm-hmm. So the reason my open code like bugs out.
Dax, help.
And so it's just added a single task for adding the implementation. I think a single task is fine for this. Show me the spec for review. So add a new autocomplete constructor for CLI prompts. select, but allows to filter choices, goals. Rendering. I think this looks pretty good.
We might want a separate constructor for multi-select, but for just the autocomplete, I think this is fine.
Right. Yeah, maybe we'll just focus on this for now. Right, so we've got a new spec here. So maybe if I go to...
Wow, Tim, I need to pause you for a second. We've got a big notification that just came in on my Twitch. Michael Arnaldi followed me. Isn't that wild?
That's wild.
Unbelievable. I never thought I'd see the day.
You're a big man now.
I'm a big time streamer now, folks.
Let's call this CLI. What are you playing?
Mike, you subscribed before you followed me like 7 months ago. Right. That makes total sense. Who's the boomer here?
All right. So if we go to our project here. Auto merge. Let's try our new feature.
Let's do it. Go, Lalph. Be free.
This is I want it to like set the target branch to the current branch by default, but for now we'll do this. If we do a reset just to set up the auto merge. There we go. So if it added like lots of tasks and it had all the dependencies set up, you could set concurrency to like 3 or something, and then if there were multiple tasks that could happen in parallel, it would do that.
I like this workflow. It's not so bad.
All other dependencies are set up.
It's basically, aside from the external issue source, it's basically the workflow that I go through locally, create a spec, run the loop, iterate on the spec.
Yeah, it's also quite nice for like when you're not at your computer and you like think of something and you like jot it down in linear before you forget and just like let the agent work on it without having to like open up an agent and like prompt it to edit the spec file and all that kind of stuff.
Right.
So yeah, I've been finding it quite a good workflow for like the library stuff I work on. Because if I think of a small thing, I can just jot it down. So that might take quite a while. Might just bump that up to extra high. I'm not sure if that will change like a in progress session in OpenCode.
Guess we'll find out.
But just like show the fixed finalization and stuff in progress, if I control C that, it will reset state peanut Worktrees, and all that good stuff that effect is great for. So here, if I go open code.
And who doesn't love free stuff, Tim?
Who doesn't love free stuff? Cool. So if I go back to the other thing I was working on quickly. How are we going for time?
We're about an hour 10 in, so we're probably pretty much done. But we can finish up whatever you were doing and then sign off for the day.
So maybe in Worktree we can say in here detect if we're already in an existing one. In existing. Maybe we'll just use that as the check if an existing. And then you can just return that as a Boolean for others to detect. So in the PRD service, we can go if worktree.in existing and then return This returns a lot of stuff, doesn't it? Path, visual GitHub PRs. So I think we're going to have to So a bunch of the agents will need like access to these APIs. Maybe I'll work on this another time, but I think what we'll have to do is create like a completely different service, but just with sync disabled. And then these APIs will just like read the disk every time.
Makes sense.
Let's leave it to do that. To service sync disable. Approach show command. Cool.
How's our boy doing over here?
OpenCode doesn't really give you. It enters when you do like give it a prompt mode and let it run. It gives you a lot less noise.
You have to there's different output settings because I messed around with this a little while ago when I was tuning my Lalph loop, but it doesn't matter.
Run. Oh.
Yeah. Also, there's a server API. Mike says, yeah.
Log level.
It's like I forget exactly what I did, but there was like I think I was running it in JSON mode. I don't remember.
Yeah, it'd be good to get to see like its thinking notes and stuff, so you can like catch stuff.
Yeah, I don't remember if I find the command I was using, I'll send it to you, but I have to find it.
Cool.
Well, listen, everybody, thank you all very much for joining the stream and hanging out. Hopefully, you enjoyed us talking about agent orchestration. And maybe we'll do more of this next time. But yeah, hope you all have a wonderful rest of your day, night, whatever. And we'll see you next time. Cheers, everyone.
See everyone.